Hello, everyone. Jak Syn here on behalf of TourFiend.com and Future Daze, and today is another exciting episode of Artist Interviews. Today we're sitting with Matt Baum of Watch Out for Snakes. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, Jackson. Then, just kind of going stir crazy like everybody else is. So it's nice having another excuse to chat with somebody, and especially in a scenario like this where I get to talk about something that I really enjoy, like music.
Well, you know what? It's really great to have you on this episode today, and I feel the same way. I know with all the social distancing and everybody being separated, it's really good to kind of just sit down and have a conversation with, somebody that you admire, you know what I mean? Somebody who's your friend. And if to everybody out there, if there's somebody you want to connect with, hit them up, contact them. Even if it's a phone call, if it's a video chat, like, what we're doing now, just see how they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most important thing we can do at a time like this is just stay connected to the people that we love and the people that we care about. So that's one of the things that I've really been taking heart in, is a lot of the different events that are going on over like live streams and some of these Zoom chats. And I'm actually debating trying to get together a lot of the Atlanta synth guys to just get on a Zoom call or Discord or something, just so that we can all see each other and chat, because it's been a couple of months since any of us have interacted. And for a while we were getting together on at least a monthly basis, just kind of shooting the shit and like sharing different things that are going on with each other. So I think we're all kind of getting a little bit stir crazy, cabin fever, just because we haven't interacted with each other in a while. So yeah, get out there and do that with the people that you care about.
Now's the time to make that happen. I'll tell you that. Time to get connected. All you guys got to get together. So today we're going to ask you a couple of questions and see where it goes from here. Are you ready to get into it?
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, let's do this. What are three of your most memorable moments from your musical career?
So three of the most memorable moments, that's kind of a hard question because I've been playing music for most of my life. It's kind of hard to narrow things down. I guess, let's see. Going back to the previous project that I was in, I did get an opportunity there to play Warped Tour a couple of years in a row. So that was pretty formative, but it was pretty crazy going from being somebody who's in the audience at one of those kinds of festivals to actually being somebody that's up on stage. You just grow up with those kinds of festivals like Warped Tour and stuff like that, and it's amazing just being there in that scope of a crowd. And so, yeah, making the switch to actually being one of the artists on the stage was pretty insane. So that was pretty cool. I think as far as like Watch Out for Snakes goes, like milestones, I would say putting out Upgrade, which is my first full length that came out a little over 2 years ago now. That was really kind of a labor of love, and we could talk about that more when we get into some of the later questions. But that was pretty awesome. And then as far as I'm about to give you two more. I know you only asked for three, but as far as shows go, actually the show that I played with Gregorio Franco and Glitch Black out in the LA Long Beach area. Future Daze helped put that one on. So I know you were there, but yeah, one of the funnier moments on that tour was when a couple of people rolled in with masks on, and just for everybody out there, it was around Halloween, so everybody was dressed up. Like Jackson had done the place up. There was Halloween candy out everywhere. But a bunch of people rolled in with masks on and started dancing up to me. I was still in the audience waiting for the show to actually start. And I didn't really think anything of it. I just started dancing with them. And there were 5 or 6 individuals. They just started crowding around me. And then one by one, they all started taking their masks off. And I realized that it was some old friends from college that I hadn't seen in probably 4 or 5 years. They all like showed out for that show. I had no idea that like all of them were coming. So that was a huge surprise. It was awesome getting to see them. And then more recently, going to MagFest. So that was this last January. For those of you that don't know, MagFest is a huge like video game music festival that happens in like the DC area. And that was a lot of fun. Again, just because I haven't interacted much with a lot of the musicians in the chiptune kind of video game scene. And I've been to festivals before, or conventions, more accurately. I've been to conventions before where, you know, I had a lot of fun, but there's inevitably going to be a couple of events that you're just like not really that into. Like maybe, you know, I could skip this. I don't need to really be there. MagFest was like the exact opposite. Like I was so overwhelmed with how much stuff there was to do, and it was really hard because you know, I wanted to do it all, because they had a bunch of music stuff. They had a bunch of like video game competitions. They had like dance parties. It was awesome. But I got a chance to meet a couple of people there. Faith in the Glitch was there, and I know that you had him on, interviewing him recently, but I'd never met him in person before, so that was great. And there were a couple of other people that you know, I've just interacted with online, which is really cool, getting to finally meet people in person. So hopefully we'll get back to that when COVID is done and we can actually start having events again, because that's what I enjoy the most is, you know, you sit behind a computer and you interact with people online, or, you know, you have people that are writing you saying like, oh, you know, I love your music, or you're doing the same thing with them saying, hey, I love your music. But that's one of the things that I love about playing shows and just being at live events, is being able to interact with people one-on-one and just have like a personal conversation with them. And we're all friends, we're all family. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there and meeting more people and reuniting with old friends.
That's definitely true, you know, and it's like I miss that. I miss that too, that connection between people. And MagFest, you know, I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, you should go to MagFest. You should check this out. I'm like, one day I will. One day I will go. I will check it out and see what it's all about. But a lot of the other memories that you have too, like being able to come out here and do Future Daze with us, that was an awesome memory as well. You know, that was a really kick-ass night. I mean, we managed to pull off an awesome show with a lot of great people on a Tuesday night, 2 days before Halloween. You know what I mean? Here in Long Beach. I mean, that was great. Having you guys come through town, being able to stay with us, being able to play, that was really great to see. And another thing that you mentioned too was being able to do Warped Tour years ago, you know, before Watch Out for Snakes. You know, I'm sure it was like an epic moment for you.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Well, you know what? I look forward to all the more amazing memories that you are going to continue to make. What would you say is your favorite album / EP that you've worked on?
I really only have like 2 full lengths as Watch Out for Snakes. There's Upgrade and there's Scars. And the way that I approached both of them was very different. So it's kind of hard to choose between them. I think Scars, I really enjoyed. That's the more recent one that I put out at the end of last year. The reason I enjoyed that one a lot is because it was the first time that I've ever really done a collaboration on one of my albums before. And I got to collaborate not just with Gregorio Franco on a track, but also Megan McDuffie. And it was just a really cool experience interacting with them in different ways, because Megan's a vocal artist as well as an instrumentalist. And it was kind of my first time in a while writing for something that was going to have vocals on top of it. So it's just a very different like mindset that you have to have coming into a track, not, you know, loading it up too much with melody and making sure that you've got enough space in there for the other person to really like add their own touches melodically. But it was great working with Megan. Like she nailed the melodies like right off the bat, and then came up with some really great lyrics for the song. So that's on the title track, Scars. So that was really cool. And then with Greg, that the track that he's on, Rip 'Em Up, that was actually the very last track that I wrote for the album. And I think I wrote my part for the track in maybe 24 hours. It was just one of those tracks where I have been mulling over something for so long, but haven't actually sat down at the computer yet to like sit and record it. And so by the time that I sit and record it, it just kind of like pours out. And that's kind of my favorite way to work, is just to kind of, just have an idea in your head, wait until it's kind of like mature enough to where you sit down and can just bang it out really quickly. You don't really get hung up trying to like hem and haw over parts and all that. So yeah, my part came together really quickly, but I couldn't figure out how to end the song. And so I was like, well, I've got this really great song, but I have no idea what to do with this. And I was so stumped, like I was kind of frustrated with it, even though like the first part was really great. And so Greg and I will sometimes kind of like send stuff back and forth to each other just to kind of get each other's opinions on whether something sounds good or not. And so I texted him and I said, hey man, I've got this track, like I can't really figure out what to do at the end here. Like, what do you think? And he's like, okay, cool, I'll listen to it. And normally we'll just write each other back and say like, oh, here's what I think you should do, or like here's what I think would add something to the song. Instead of doing that, he like wrote me back and like actually had like his part to the song written out. So without my even asking, he just went ahead and like wrote his part of the song and sent it back. I was like, this is badass. This is awesome. Like this has to be the end and how the song ends. So like we kind of went back and forth a couple more times just to get that right. And yeah, it was just a really cool experience because again, I didn't get that opportunity to collaborate with people on Upgrade, because Upgrade was very much a labor of love. I started writing that album back in like 2014 as a response to like different health things that I was going through. And and that's like back before I even knew about Synthwave, back before I knew that there was a community and a scene for all this stuff. And because I worked on it for so long, by the time that I put it out in 2018, like I had become aware of the community and was able to, like, I don't know, just reach out to everybody and release it to the synthwave scene. But yeah, it was a long time coming together, Upgrade. So I mean, while it was cool from like a passion perspective, like I felt like there was a lot of me that went into that album, and I felt like it was very deeply personal. It was nice sitting down with Scars, and Scars is personal too, but Scars I felt like was a little bit more focused from the start. Like Upgrade, I was trying to like figure out what my sound was going to be, and I wasn't really sure like how I wanted to arrange some of the instrumentation. And so Scars came together over the course of a year, and it just went a lot more smoothly. And so I think that's at the moment, that's my favorite release, just because it's been, easy. It was easier having that one come together than it was for Upgrade.
Yeah, it's a really good album. I enjoy it. I enjoy both albums. Both albums are really, really good. Well, you really showed two dynamic sides of who you are, and I'm excited to hear what you have coming next. So it's really great to see that you are navigating this journey. Really, really awesome.
When I'm writing the albums, they mean something to me, but that's one of the great things about writing in an instrumental medium and not having lyrics or whatever to a lot of your tracks, is that it leaves things even more up for interpretation. So it doesn't really matter to me, like if somebody gets the same mood or like the same emotion from a particular track that I wrote, as long as it means something to them and in some way. So that's like, to me, that's kind of the greatest compliment that somebody could pay to me, is that, it's meant something to them, or that, they just really enjoyed listening to the music.
Exactly. Conveying the emotion through the sound waves. What was the drive behind getting you into making music and performing live?
The drive for getting me into music was actually my mom. She pushed me into it as a kid. I really didn't want to play piano. Like, that was something that she made me do. But I'm glad that she made me do it, because if she hadn't, then I wouldn't be here today talking to you. But I had a very different relationship with music when I was younger, because it was something that I was being forced to do. And so at the time, playing live, at that point, it meant piano recitals. It meant something that was like really not very fun. It was something that was really nerve-wracking because a lot of the times I wouldn't remember the song very well, or I just wasn't able to perform whatever the song that I'd selected like super well, and you're performing for a bunch of people that you kind of know but not really, and it was just nerve-wracking for somebody that's like 8 years old to sit down at the piano and try and do that. So I really didn't like playing music all that much as a kid. It wasn't until I sat down and started picking out the soundtrack to Final Fantasy VI, or it was Final Fantasy III at the time, over here in the States. But yeah, that soundtrack just like spoke to me so much as a video game that I went over to the piano and started like scoring the main theme of it. And that was kind of when this light bulb went on that like, oh shit, like music can actually be fun. And if I'm playing stuff that I actually enjoy playing, then I want to keep coming back to it. And so that was kind of like a turning point for me. But it wasn't really until after I graduated from school that I even got into like performing live again. I think just the whole piano recital thing, it just turned me off from that experience so much that I just didn't want to even explore that. But one of my sister's friends, when I wrapped up school, he was putting a hardcore band together. And at the time, bands like Under Oath were just kind of starting to become popular. So it's kind of like melodic hardcore days. And they had pretty much everything, but they wanted to see what would happen if they added a keyboard into the mix. And so I joined the band for a year and a half or so. And that's where like I learned to love playing live. That's where I got the guitar. That's where I learned what floor shows were all about, because we would play these really like divey kind of community centers and bars and stuff like that. And it was a bunch of like high school kids that were coming out to those shows, and the energy that people were bringing was just like, it was crazy. It was so much fun. But being in that atmosphere where everybody's like moshing and throwing down, and like you're in the pit with them, like playing right in front of them, and people are banging into your keyboard and you're banging into them and all that. That's the kind of thing that I live for. And so every time that I'm playing a show now, it's all about like trying to kind of recapture some of that energy and some of that initial experience that I had playing live, because that's just, it was so like invigorating, I guess. So, and that's why I enjoy performing now. There's this like reciprocity between the audience and the artist, where if you're having a good time, they're feeling it, and then they start like vibing on it even harder. And then as an artist, like if they're having a good time, you're feeling it, and so then you start throwing down even harder. And that kind of like dual energy between the crowd and myself. That's why I play music. I mean, like writing music is fun, and sitting in front of the computer or the keyboard or whatever, like that's all right. But to me, it's kind of a means to an end. Like I would much rather be out like playing in front of people and like connecting with people in a live show setting. So yeah, that's it. I've been in like various other bands in between like now and that hardcore band. But aside from like the Warped Tour experience and just like touring up and down the East Coast a couple of times, I don't know that it's like worth going into like all the nitty gritty detail. We were like an electro punk kind of band, or synth punk. It was fun, but I definitely enjoy being in my own project now, because I don't have to contend with 3 other personalities, or like either creatively or on the road. I'm sure anybody who's been in another band before with more than just themselves, like they know how difficult it can get when you're in the van on the road with 3 other people for like day in, day out, for like a couple weeks straight. So it's nice. It's nice being able to just like buy a plane ticket now, because I only have to worry about like getting myself um, to like across country or whatever. Even if I'm traveling with people, I get the option of picking who I get to travel with. So like on the Dark Future tour, if I'd wanted to not go on that tour with Gregorio Franco and Glitch Black, I could have said no, because they're not my bandmates. But it because I'm an individual and everything, and all of us were individuals, it just gave us the option. And so it was a very different experience going on the road with them when you're choosing to go on tour with these people, as opposed to like you have to go on tour with these people.
Exactly. I mean, I always kind of like to say, touring in your 30s is definitely a whole hell of a lot different than touring when you're in your 20s. Because when you're in your 20s, you're like, yeah, I can't wait to get out there and show the world what I got. I don't care, whatever. If I gotta sleep in the back of the van, I don't care. You know what I mean? But when you're in your 30s and you're touring, you kind of go, okay, listen, I need my rental car, I need my hotel room, I need a shower. You know what I mean? I need a little me time, separate. But yeah, I know. Like when you're in a band, it's definitely a different dynamic than when you're just a solo artist. When you're a solo artist, you worry about what you have to do. You have to, when you're writing, it's like just you. It's just your opinion. It's what you want to show as a person, as opposed to 4 other personalities or 3 other personalities or 2 other personalities, however you want to look at it. You really definitely have that freedom. The only thing you don't really have, being in a solo act as opposed to a band, is like you don't have a soundboard a lot of the time. You're very much in your own world. But some people love that. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the best of both worlds, because you can be in your own world and kind of be creating on your own. But at least what I've experienced in both like the synthwave community and the chiptune community, like everybody is a family. And so like I was saying earlier with Gregorio Franco, like he and I will send stuff to each other all the time just to kind of get feedback on stuff. And so, and that's pretty common, I think, with a lot of artists in the scene. There's a community, and that makes a difference when you're a solo artist, being able to reach out to people in the community for that sounding board element. So, and yeah, it can get a little bit lonely sometimes, because you're traveling alone, or you're working on things alone, and so sometimes I have to like make a decision. Am I in the headspace to work on something tonight, knowing that it's just going to be me sitting in front of a keyboard, or a synth or whatever, or do I feel like I need to get out and socialize, and be a part of the community? But again, the great thing is that as a solo artist, you have that option. Nobody's saying you have to be with somebody or not. Like, whereas if you're in a band, if you don't want to be with those bandmates, you're kind of SOL. Like it is what it is, unless you're going to break up with them and do your own thing. So,
well, I mean, you can choose to have a support system if you want. It's up to you as an artist. I mean, everybody out there, it's like, solo or not, you know what I mean? You definitely can have a support system, colleagues and people that you admire and that you love.
yeah.
What are you looking forward to accomplishing the most moving forward?
That's a good question, because I'm kind of reaching this point where I feel like I've said a lot of what I wanted to say with Watch Out for Snakes, just from kind of a musical perspective. And so I feel like I'm at this crossroads where I'm trying to figure out, do I evolve my sound? Do I kind of stick with the sound? Like, what do I want to do creatively moving forward? And so I think that the way that I've always approached music is probably the same way that I'm going to approach it this time around, where I typically take it track by track. I don't ever think about like, hey, what do I want to do on this next album? Or what do I want to do like on this next tour? Like, I'm always kind of taking it like one day at a time. And so Scars. Scars started out as a bunch of individual tracks. Like the first couple I wrote for different compilations. And then as I was writing them, a theme kind of developed. And so the first half of the album was kind of loosely connected. Second half of the album that I wrote, I had the theme in mind. So then at that point I was kind of writing like to that theme or to that concept. But that's kind of how I've approached on both albums. So right now I'm trying to focus less on what I want to accomplish, and just if something's interesting to me, if I hear something interesting in like another soundtrack or like out in the world someplace, and then I think to myself, oh, that would be really interesting to try and do something similar to that in a new song, kind of put a Watch Out for Snakes spin on that. Then I'll sit down and start like fleshing out what that track might sound like, and if it sucks, then it goes in the like put it away till another time bin, and if it's awesome, then it could end up being on the next album. But yeah, that's kind of just the way that I approach things. I like to challenge myself to try and do things that are interesting, but also kind of have that like Watch Out for Snakes style to it, because it took me a while to get to that point. Like I was saying earlier with Upgrade, the reason that album took forever is because I was kind of discovering my sound along the way. And I like where I've landed, but I think that there's still some like more interesting things that I can do with that. So yeah, I think that at least for the time being, I'm going to stick with what I have, probably from an instrumentation perspective, but from kind of an arrangement and like composition perspective, just continue to explore different places I haven't been yet.
That sounds great. You know what? I'm sure everybody out there is freaking excited to hear where you're gonna go with this stuff, because, I mean, experimenting, growing as an artist, that's what it's all about. And seeing what you can do with the sounds that you have and the arrangements that you have, and what's going on up here in that brain of yours, you know what I mean? I'm sure it's gonna be amazing. So everybody out there, be on the lookout. I know he's got something amazing coming.
Yeah, the hard thing is with all the quarantine stuff that everybody's going through, and everybody's experiencing this, but I know everybody had big plans for this year, and those plans have had to evolve because of the quarantine. So I know there were a couple of collaborations that I was really looking forward to that have been kind of put on the back burner, and then there were a bunch of shows that I had lined up that I was really looking forward to this year, that hopefully are just going to get delayed, but we'll see what happens. And then I know I've talked with you a little bit about it, Jak Syn, but for everybody out there, I'm also interested in trying to take another crack at Terminus Retrowave, which is this it's basically like Future Daze, but for like the Atlanta scene. I'm really trying to bring our Atlanta synthwave and chip community together, and had a couple of shows that were set to happen in April and May, but then the coronavirus stuff kicked in, and so we're kind of on like a hiatus with things right now, and we'll probably relaunch once things start opening again. But I'm excited to be more active in the community, because up until now I've been more focused on like Watch Out for Snakes and just kind of looking at it from the artist point of view. But I think with a lot of the changes that are happening in the Atlanta scene here, it's important for us to be coming together more often, and for us to be building more of a venue for touring artists to be able to come through, and for people to be experiencing some of the music from around the world. Because at this stage, a lot of people, when they're touring like through the US, like they either skip Atlanta or they just, they're not aware that there are like local synthwave artists here that they can pair up with. So that's kind of my main goal with Terminus Retrowave. Once we kick that off again, is to to link those two things together, make sure that people know that we do have an Atlanta scene here, and give the touring musicians a home away from home here in Atlanta.
Yeah, putting synthwave, retrowave, chiptune, all of that, putting Atlanta on that. I cannot wait to get down there to Atlanta and see how it all pans out, because it's going to be amazing. What positive message would you give your fans out there?
Positive messages are important at this time, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the world, and it's easy to kind of focus on all the negative aspects of everything that's going on. You know, we've got the coronavirus and the quarantine stuff happening. So I know that that's affecting people's mental health in a lot of different ways, as well as physical health. And then, you know, with the George Floyd events, all the protests and riots and everything, that's also probably not helping people's mental states a whole lot. But I think it's important that we take care of ourselves, and we make sure that we're looking after ourselves first. I think a lot of the times it's easy to, you know, get caught up in what other people have going on, or you know, just be focusing too much on social media. And just, I think it's important to be kind to yourself. I think that everybody needs to be doing what they can, from like an activism perspective, to make sure that, you know, you're doing your part and kind of stamping out any kind of like social injustice that you see. And that's something that I believe like very much. And so, you know, I've been doing what I can from kind of like behind the scenes, or, you know, like not putting myself at risk on the front line, because, you know, I know myself, I know what like I'm capable of, and like I want to fight the fight, but I also want to be safe about it. So yeah, I think that, yeah, the best thing that we can do for ourselves is just like take care of yourself, be active, like make sure that you're making your voice heard, and you're doing what you can to support Black Lives Matter and the other like human rights efforts that are going on right now. But take care of yourself first, because if your health is at risk, or if you're not taking care of yourself, then, you know, then nothing else really matters. So,
well, you know what? Wise words right there from Matt Baum, everybody, right there. You know, taking care of yourself right now is so very important. You know, you need to take care of your mind, your body right now, because there's a lot of stuff happening in the world right now, a lot of stuff that is causing a lot of pressure on people. You know what I mean? And it's stressing a lot of people out. So it's really important that we take that time to really focus, realign who we are, you know what I mean? And then help the world, help what's going on in the world right now. You know, fighting the social injustice, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people, you know, all over the world, you know, that are facing prejudice, facing sexism, facing, you know, racial divide. It's like, and that's happening everywhere. You know, all of the people that have been affected by this, it's a lot. We as people need to learn how to move forward in the world, you know, making the changes where we can, you know, being more accepting of things, you know, and being more open to change. That's where, you know, we need to be right now, and helping any way that we can. So to everybody out there, help any way that you can. Back those movements. You know, give a voice to the voiceless, because that's what's important. So thank you so much, Matt, for taking the time to do this interview today. Thank you to everybody who tuned in to watch this interview happen. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our Fiend, our YouTube channel. And I look forward to seeing you again sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jak Syn. Thanks for having me on. Thanks to Future Daze. Thanks to Tour Fiend for having me on. And yeah, I'm hoping that we're back playing shows together sooner rather than later.
Got that right. And you know what? Dream it, build it, and let it grow. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again next time.